Guess who's back?
Mario.
You're not Mario.
I'm not.
Yeah. Hi guys. Annie is with us this week, and of course, the first thing I do is drag her over. Before I start, I want to say, Sheep the Hack, thank you so much for the kind words. Last week was actually quite tough for us. There were a lot of company problems, but we reached some sort of agreement. But nevertheless, point is, what you said was very, very uplifting, and that was sorely needed. And also thank everybody, even those who don't agree with what I said, for joining the conversation. If anything, I'd prefer people talking. Anyways, back to this story. What the hell am I talking about? Back to the interview. So Annie is with us this week.
Hello.
Yeah, and then since last week's topic was a bit, how would you say? What's the word where you don't know? People have disagreeing opinion.
Controversial.
It was a bit controversial. So this week we have Annie. Maybe as a girl, she's a bit empathetic. I'm super sexist right now, but maybe you are more empathetic. You do write good stories.
I'm just an empathetic person.
Yeah, be closer to the mic. But anyhow, so I'd ask Annie. So first thing last week we talked about was moral policing in the industry, and then I was saying that like Last of Us 2 is the best example. Some people really, really hated it because they didn't like how the story is taken, and I didn't like that they were just blindly hating someone making the story their own way, and I thought that was ridiculous. But also there are people who are defending the project, saying that people who hate this are misogynist or sexist and just all the labels that and that doesn't seem like it's a proper adjective or proper assessment of the situation as well. Some people took offense, including Alan. Not exactly, but he didn't like that I was standing in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But the point I was trying to get at is I don't like to tell people what's the right thing to do because I know I'm not perfect. So maybe that's a stronger stance, but generally ideas I don't tell people. I try not to preach if I can, even though I still subconsciously do
He
it.
definitely does.
Yeah. Anyways, so what's your stance on this whole thing? Like, last week I just said, why are there so many perfect people trying to come out and telling people what to do? Because the assumption is if you can tell people what to do, they generally are trying to be as perfect as they can too.
Oh, people are hating on the story because it has like a lesbian story. Is that why?
No, people are I don't know why they hate it, but a lot of the general reviews about the story is that it is trying to they're using characters to tell an idea,
Mm-hmm.
rather than they're using characters to tell an idea rather than having characters develop their own thing and we decipher what idea they all generally are trying to say.
So pushing an agenda.
Yeah, like generally pushing agenda. That's what people who don't like it say.
And then people who liked it said that, oh, you don't like this means that you hate women.
Yeah.
Oh,
You don't like women, you don't like trans, you don't like the LGBTQ.
I feel like both of them is too extreme.
Yeah, that's what I said. And then
Because-
there's a lady who really was not happy with what I said.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like people have their own opinions. Some people might think it's like a great story, and some other people might think, oh, this is complete shit.
Yeah.
And so, but then the other person shouldn't be labeling other people either.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I understand trying to make LGBTQ plus relationships more of a normalized thing. So the more exposure you have to it, then the less afraid of it you are, or you understand it better when it's you're desensitized. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing to do that, but if they sacrifice telling stories to do that, then that's also a little bit. It's just more extreme. I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just more extreme.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I'm not trying to say which opinion is right. It's just when people who don't like it say the story is bad because this story is bad because I don't like where they took the story. That's not convincing to me. But people who are also saying the opposite is not convincing to me.
If you want to say the story is bad, you have to point out why it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh, this doesn't develop well, or this would have been more natural to go this way, or whatever.
To be fair, there's definitely some really, really good ones, such as they're saying, oh, that character from it's a sequel game.
Yeah.
The character from the last game was super careful. He wouldn't do a lot of things in this current one.
Yeah.
I think my main problem is with people who said so in general, I don't want to say too much. There's a character in the first game that was killed off very early from in the second game, and people were just like, I love that guy, why would you do that? And then now they just don't want to play, they already hate it. But okay, so there was another comment last week that said that people aren't trying to, when they're preaching, they're not trying to be perfect, they're just trying to look for accountability. I'm not exactly sure what that mean by accountability, like as in like what they say have consequences. Do you know how, like, what's the general opinion?
I think they just want people to be aware of things are happening, because if you're ignorant, then you don't know what you don't know. But it's like a fine line, because you can start sounding too preachy, and it's like you're trying to lecture people, but you're like, the people you would be like, oh, what right do you have to lecture me? You know? But I think most of the time people aren't trying to be like that. They're just trying to bring awareness.
And yeah, Alan said last week that he doesn't think most people like virtue signaling. I kind of disagree.
Some people.
Yeah.
Some people.
Because there's this talk, I forgot, it was on a Joe Rogan show that was saying that virtue signaling is not exactly about trying to show that you're perfect, but rather when you virtue signal, you are very immediately included into a group. It's like you're finding your herd. And when you virtue signal, you share the same belief and same qualities, and then therefore other people will try to accept you more. So I feel like there are people that do like to virtue signal, and then there are people, I would say people more like to virtue signal because they want to find herds.
Oh, this might be kind of controversial too. Like, I remember before people are saying that, like, oh, these companies trying to, like, for example, Black Lives Matter. They're like, all these companies are suddenly starting to talk about Black Lives Matter, but it's just for, like, advertisement, and they want people, like, consumers to buy things, right?
So like a marketing ploy.
Like a marketing ploy. But then I'm thinking, is it really that bad that they're using it as a marketing ploy? Because it is bringing more awareness, right?
Yeah.
So that's like a first step.
Yeah.
Like, the intention behind it isn't good, but it's still doing some good for the world, you know?
Yeah.
But other people are like, no, you need to mean it. And I'm like,
yeah,
it's baby steps. Baby steps.
I think I share that sentiment completely as well. I do think the BLM movement generally is a good idea to follow. It's just I feel like you can do it better. There's better ways to show it. But like you said, I think it's baby steps.
It's so pragmatic. It's like the end justifies me. But no, only sometimes.
For companies specifically. Okay, so then just probably to end it, what do you think, if you had an idea about the general way you see how the world should run, not how it is, but what you think the world should run, how would you tell it through the story, through the character, rather than characters serving the idea? It's the idea serving the characters. How would you do that? How would you try to make sure you're trying to let the character tell the story rather than the opposite?
That's really hard.
You see, the thing I always liked about your writing is you spent a lot of time with people talking to each other, and then there are a lot of inner thoughts. I think I really, really like that one. It really, honestly, you remind me of Jane Eyre and these kind of very, very introspective female writers. And I really, really enjoy that. And I think when Dhruv and I, we've been writing some stuff, and we're like, yeah, this is junk compared to Annie's.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So what goes through your head? What's the first thing you go through when you're like, do you self-check yourself, whatnot, or do you just write based off of how you feel?
Well, when I'm writing, I really think about, I try to put myself in the character's shoes.
Yeah.
So I'm not, it's like, sometimes I have like an end that I'm trying to get to, but how it gets there, I have literally no idea. It just kind of comes as how the characters would act.
Oh, that sounds pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, so it's like, I feel like it's more natural that way, and it's not as like, what's the word?
Forced?
As forced. So you have an idea of what a character is like, and then you start somewhere, and then you're writing, and then if the character has to make a decision, you can think about like what kind of characteristics and personality that character has, and based off of that, then you make the decision on where the story goes.
Wow.
That's what I do, instead of just like, oh, I need it to go this way.
Yeah, see, that's the problem when Dhruv and I are writing. We're like, okay, we already know he's gonna do that, and let's just force it. So he says, I think that proves that girls are definitely more empathetic. I am
one single girl. Okay. One singular girl.
My sister is more empathetic. And maybe that casts a bias over our whole discussion, but I should have you guys know that Annie rarely agrees with me, so it's actually, I think it's pretty objective, but I don't know. Alright, but yeah, thank you guys for listening, and thank you, Annie, for wasting your time talking to me this morning.
Yeah, that was fun.
Alright, bye.
Bye.